Hi and welcome to Jason's Vegan Kitchen. Today I'm sharing with you the long-awaited sourdough recipe that is made for the LoafNest. This is hands down the easiest sourdough bread I've ever made, no kneading and no fuss, just perfect results every single time. Hang around until the end, I'll share some top tips with you that will make your baking and sourdough experience even easier.
These are really simple ingredients and they're all in the description with the method. You'll need 400 grams of strong bread flour. I like to use 350 grams of white and then about 50 grams of whole wheat bread flour, but play around with those ratios. This is a really forgiving recipe. Next you'll need 300 grams of lukewarm water and 200 grams of a fed or active starter. I used a 1-to-1 ratio, so this was 100 grams of strong white bread flour and 100 grams of water and 8 to 10 grams of salt. And then an optional sprinkle of sesame seeds, so about a tablespoon. I always like to add these, it does give extra crunch and flavour. Grab your scales. I prefer digital as these ones are very specific and they allow me to measure to the gram so that when it comes to things like salt, I know that it's fairly accurate. Pop a bowl onto the scales and tare it. I like stainless steel as they're easy to clean, lightweight, and I've got close fitting lids for them. However, glass, ceramic and plastic work great too. Then add the ingredients to the bowl. I find the order doesn't really matter. The most important thing is making sure that you're mixing them really well at the end. So I'm starting with 200 grams fed starter, 300 grams of lukewarm water, 10 grams of salt, 50 grams of whole wheat bread flour and 350 grams of the white bread flour. Then grab your dough whisk, or you could use a fork and just give it a really thorough mix here to make sure that all of the ingredients are fully incorporated and you have no lumps whatsoever. I'm doing it at normal speed here just so that you can see how slowly, to start off with, I'm incorporating those ingredients. And now I'm speeding up the camera so that we can get to the next stage quickly without you having to wait. But I'm really spending less than a minute in total making sure that all of these ingredients are fully incorporated, so this really doesn't take very long at all. And the camera's back to normal speed here just so that you can get a really good idea of what that should look like when you finish mixing. Then pop a tight-fitting lid onto your bowl or use some cling film and store it at room temperature for anywhere between 8 and 18 hours. But the key isn't really about the time but about the effect, so make sure that it's doubled in size before you then put it into the fridge. And I store it in the fridge for anywhere between 1 and 5 days until I'm ready to bake. It's now baking day, so I'm just opening the oven and popping in the LoafNest without the liner. Putting the oven on at 230 degrees Celsius or 445 Fahrenheit, and I'm preheating for 45 minutes. Once the 45 minutes are up, I then take the dough out of the fridge, and this is one that I prepared earlier and it's been in the fridge for about 2 days. Then get your LoafNest out of the oven. Unfortunately, a technical glitch means that you can't see this next part, but I did then put the liner into the base of the LoafNest, which is the one with the flat bottom on the right, and I scraped the dough into the liner. And so that looked like this when it was finished. If like me you're adding sesame seeds, now's the time to sprinkle those on the top. Then pop your gloves back on and put the lid on the LoafNest. I like to take a few seconds here just to make sure that the lid is nicely aligned on top and also that none of the liner is sticking inside the dish. Put that back in the oven and set your timer to 45 minutes. Once your 45 minutes are up, then just take the LoafNest out of the oven and take the lid off, little steam shot there, and then take the liner away from the bread. If you're happy with the colour as it is, you're done. If like me you preferred a little bit browner, then bake it in the oven for a further 3 to 5 minutes. After that time, just take it out of the oven. You can see it's got a gorgeous golden colour here. I'm very happy with that. And I'm going to leave it to cool for about 20 to 30 minutes. Please don't be tempted to eat it straight away. It does look and smell delicious, but you'll be rewarded by waiting for a little bit of time whilst the dough inside just completes the cooking process. Take a look at that gorgeous golden brown colour and beautiful cracking that's formed on the surface without the need for scoring. It's now cooled and I'm ready to cut and show you what it looks like inside. That first cut is so satisfying. It also has a lovely open crumb, which is just the right balance for me. It's neither too tight nor too loose and allows all of your toppings to stay on the bread.
Before you go, here are those top tips I said I'd give you at the beginning, which will give you brilliant results every single time. Firstly, make sure that you weigh your ingredients for accuracy. The recipe is really forgiving, so it's okay if you go over a few grams or under a few grams for water, flour or starter. However, you do need to be more careful with the salt. Secondly, after that initial ferment of about 8 to 16 hours until your dough's doubled in size, I always leave it in the fridge for 1 to 5 days, and it gives perfect results doing it that way every time, and it's really convenient. Next, make sure that you bake it straight from the fridge, as this gives the best oven spring. And experiment with add-ins like seeds, nuts, and dried fruit when you're mixing the dough. Lastly, if you're interested in the LoafNest, my review of it will be somewhere around here. Spoiler alert, it's the best investment I've ever made for my bread making. See you next time.